Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. Adorable treasured fox, divine Dr. Mother overturning the heavens. Author by Co Chi Yi. Audio novels by Novelist. Chapter 351, Endure. 1. Mistress, it was right after you left that the Holy Land came to recruit people. But the one in charge this time has gotten together with Baiji, your half-sister. Hualuo's explanation had literally left the girls flabbergasted there. Out of reflex, Bai Yan shifts her gaze over to Chu Yi, which in turn made the princess shrug her shoulders like she didn't have a clue. Is that man blind or something? Xuanhuan was quite jumpy due to her own anger. I've already shaved the girl's head. How could they even get together in that state? Towards that question, Hualuo had the answer. He's not blind, just the man has a special fetish for nuns. Popping her eyes in utter shock, the Xuanhuan almost couldn't believe her own ears. So this is my fault. Then what's the deal with the Bai house registering my brother for the recruitment process? Dark in her face, Bai Yan coldly asks. Showing a bitter smile, Hualuo apparently didn't know how to handle the situation either. I'm not sure how the Bai house managed to do this, but they have managed to persuade the man to ignore all the rumors out in the public. Now that individual will only listen to Baiji and her stories, thus allowing that family to make waves again while you were away, mistress. Not even the demon beast sect are able to halt their arrogance. There are 3 hidden sects on the mainland, among them being the Holy Land. This means that even if one was just a disciple of such a power, they can wield enormous authority out in the world with no one willing to challenge their might. Of course, that's under the condition that their members are out in the wild first. Now this leaves to question, why would the Holy Land suddenly come outside to recruit people? Contemplating the idea for a good while, Bai Yan eventually gives up on the dilemma when it didn't make sense. Besides, she can always get the answer directly from her 3 shifers. I understand the situation now. First tell me where my brother is, I will go see him. The Bai house want to make a move against my brother. Humph. That will depend entirely on whether or not they have the ability first. Sir Co is currently out with his friend mistress. Also, there's another thing I need to tell you. Bai Zhangpeng, sickly man, had made a trip over here prior to your return. He left a letter for you. Bai Zhangpeng. Bai Yan pricked her brows at the name. Where's the letter? Since the charming woman has been carrying the item on her at all times, it didn't take long for Hualuo to hand over the letter. With a tear, Bai Yan made quick work of the contents inside. According to the letter, it was message telling her about how the man had to leave first and could only use this method to bid his farewell for now. Aside from that, there's not much else in terms of usefulness. Let's go. Bring me to my brother. It's only been a few days since Bai Yan left to help her aunt, yet the looks coming her way from the passing pedestrians were all carrying the eyes of shock and pity. This Bai Yan didn't have it easy when breaking off her connection with the Bai house. To think she would be stuck in this situation so quickly again. Keke, the Holy Land is one of the 3 hidden sects of this world. No matter how strong Bai Yan is, she can never go up against such a power. Gossiping voices could be heard from every corner of the street, making the trip all the more irritating. Oh Miss Bai Yan, where would you be going on this fine day? Due to the familiarity of that voice, Bai Yan didn't even need to think twice about turning around to face the source. Sure enough, it was a middle-aged man leading a fat little boy by his side, and due to the chicken leg and pig trotter in each hand, the young lad looked awfully dirty there. Bai Xiaocan. Upon seeing it was his close friend back in the city again, Wang Xiaopeng immediately lit up in his eyes and tossed away the stuff in his oily hands. As friends, it's only normal to want to give each other an embracing hug to show off their friendship. However, it's unlikely anyone would want to be smothered in sweat and oil by the same sex, and a super fat one at that. Chapter 352, Endure. 2. Bai Xiaocan, I missed you to death. Where have you been during these past couple of days? I went to your house before, but your auntie there said you were away. I went out with my mother. So Xiaopeng chubby, what are you and uncle doing here? Blinking his big brilliant eyes, the baby boy innocently asks without realizing he just hit a landmine. I heard the people of the Holy Land came to our city. I and my father are going there to see. A humph. Coughing hard and loud to stop his son from making the situation even more awkward, Wang Diqiu carefully eyes the woman for signs of anger. Miss Bai Yan, I'm sure you've heard of the matter with the Holy Land already. So I like to ask, do you know about the Bai house getting on the good side of that power? Still smiling on her face, Bai Yan didn't mind the carelessness of the child at all. It seems that everyone knows already. This. As awkward as it was, Wang Diqiu nevertheless lays down his support. I know I can't help you much at all, but I do have a lot of money. If you and the Bai house are going to confront each other, then I can support your side financially. When saying that, the poor greedy man was quite hurting inside that his heart nearly stopped pumping. He's a businessman in and out. So what's the biggest concern for his kind? Of course it's benefits. To provide funding without any monetary gain in return, how can he be fine still? But, deliberately lowering his voice, I suggest you not clash with the Bai house for now. First bide your time until the dust settles. After all, they have the Holy Land on their side. Endure it for now. Seeing the kind man's cautious appearance, Bai Yan didn't have the heart to reject the suggestion and went with the flow. Okay, I understand. Getting the answer that he hoped for, the greedy merchant couldn't be happier. You are young anyways, there's bound to be other opportunities around. And if you can somehow catch their fancy, you might even be able to become a core disciple of the Holy Land. The structural layout of the Holy Land was divided into the outer circle, inner circle, and core circle. Though the one coming to oversee the recruitment process wasn't a core disciple, he's still an inner circle member, making him a person with a lot of weight nevertheless. Of course, for someone like Bai Yan who doesn't belong to any of the mentioned groups above, it just goes to show how special her existence was within the Holy Land. Caressing her chin in thought, Bai Yan then snorted in amusement. Is there anything else? If not, then we will first take our leave. Oh wait, there is one more thing I need to tell you. First sweeping his gaze around for signs of others, Wang Diqiu then went ahead to speak in a whispering voice after confirming there's no eavesdroppers. According to a reliable source of mine, the elders of the Holy Land is also coming. If Miss Bai Yan you are willing to endure for the next couple of days, I'm sure you would be able to catch their fancy by using your means. When that occurs, what else do you have to fear? Ahahump. Coughing hard at the last part of that sentence, Bai Yan couldn't resist making a strange face at that statement. Miss Bai Yan, you mustn't misunderstand me. I am not telling you to do what you have in mind. I am referring to your alchemic skills. If you show it off in front of the elders, then I'm sure one of them will be captured by your talent and take you in. Heaving a long sigh, Wang Diqiu really had to hand it to the Bai house. Nangong Lin's secret had only recently been exposed before the world, now they are already making waves across the kingdom after a couple of days. Isn't the deities being too gracious towards them? Thank you for your kindness. Twitching in her mouth, Bai Yan didn't have the heart to burst the man's bubble. I understand. It's good that you are heeding my advice. With your strength and talent, I'm sure you would eventually become an overlord of a faction. Bellowing out a laugh, the man was clueless on his own ignorance the entire way. Chapter 353, Endure. 3. Though Bai Yan did not explicitly say she would endure, but when transferred to Wang Diqiu's ear, it somehow turned out that way. Ho, isn't this Bai Yan? You actually have the nerve to come back. Just as she's ready to leave, this eerie voice had caught their attention from the front. Turns out it was Yurong coming over with her chin raised higher than the sky. Apparently this foolish woman hasn't learned her lesson yet and intends to make trouble. So what if Bai Xiakan caught the eyes of the demon beast sect? My daughter now has the support of a disciple from the Holy Land. I'm willing to bet that bitch wouldn't even know about such a amazing power. Bai Yan, I should thank you. If you haven't snatched away Daikang, then my daughter wouldn't have been able to enter the Holy Land. That man may be strong, but when compared to the Holy Land, you... Bang. Without indication, the second Yurong came into attacking distance, Bai Yan had raised her fist and sent it straight into the woman's face. This blow undoubtedly caught everyone off guard, especially the one receiving it. Flying out like a ragged doll until she hit the cold hard ground, Yurong now laid there sprawled to the floor. How annoying. Ignoring the fact that there's still a person in front of them, Bai Yan went ahead and pulled her son along to step right over on top of Yurong's body. As a result of this second blow, the injured woman finally splurged out a mouthful of blood and fainted away. Meanwhile, in the background, the man was left there with his jaws gaped open. Is this what she considers to be enduring? Hey you, is the disciple from the Holy Land strong? Smickering a cold laugh, Chuyi suddenly makes this weird question. Quote ellipsis ... Quote. Wang Diqiu was definitely flabbergasted there. Isn't the fact that the disciple is from the Holy Land strong enough? Just when he was baffled on how to take the girl's odd behavior, Chuyi also followed suit and stepped over Yurong's poor body. Hey father, wiping those greasy hands off with his clothes, Wang Xiaoping suddenly chimes in. Sister Bai Yan is so cool there. Can you come up with a plan and help him? Giving his son an eyeful, the man was quite irritated by that careless comment. If you are calling her sister, then what about Xiaocan? Of course it's boss. Isn't what father asking just nonsensical? I've long recognized Xiaocan as my boss, so of course I would call him that. Annoyed by his son's antics, Wang Diqiu grumpily states his own difficulties. If not for your mistake back at home, then would we have been driven out of the main house? Father, didn't Sister Bai Yan sell you a lot of Dan pills? Why don't you look for grandfather and ask him for an idea? Without Xiaocan's mother, then the supplies would be gone too. The poor greedy man didn't answer right away. The truth was, he's already giving his all. Aside from financial support, there's not much at his disposal here. Likely aware of his father's thought pattern, Wang Xiaoping immediately got vindictive. Father, if you don't come up with a solution to help, then I will burn your treasury room. You decide for yourself on what you want to do. You. Livid in his face, Wang Diqiu really wanted to smack this brat of his. Quit looking at me like that. You may be able to keep watch over your precious things inside for a while, but you can never watch over them forever. When you're not looking, I will sneak inside and burn every crisp of it. Snorting without a pang of fear, the chubby threatens his father like a real boss. To the boy's credit, it did have the effect that he wanted. Grabbing the boy by the collar, Wang Diqiu roars out at his son. Damn brat, consider yourself lucky. I will go back and send your grandfather a letter to see if he has a plan. Let's just hope now that your friend's mother there wouldn't go too far and only offend a disciple of the Holy Land and not their elders instead. Otherwise, not even your grandfather would be able to do a thing by then. Chapter 354, Endure. 4. The chubby finally breathed a sigh of relief. So long as his grandfather comes forward to adjust the situation, then there would be no issue, generally anyways. Stinking brat, now that I have promised to help with your issue, don't you think it's time we start going over our debt? Glaring fire at his son, Wang Diqiu took the first shot and slapped his son in the buttocks till he's wailing in pain. Ah, father, be lighter, I am your son. The poor chubby cries out for mercy. Ho, you still remember you are my son. How come you didn't remember that when you were threatening me just now? If I don't teach you a proper lesson today, then my surname will follow yours instead. The man firmly believes it now. If he doesn't lecture this brat a good one, then it's just a matter of time before he heads to the coffin. But father, you and my surname is the same to begin. Before the poor chubby could even finish that sentence, another major slap had already come falling down, thus sending the boy jerking up and down like someone tossed into a hot frying pan. Hey Xiaocan, how come you are back here again? Did you come to save me? After a good while of this outrageous antic on the busy street, Wang Xiaoping suddenly turned around and cried out at the distance. Likely caught off guard by this, the man subconsciously shifted his gaze around towards the indicated direction. However, what he saw were nothing but pedestrians and not the reddish female with her son. Then by the time this father returned his focus back to the brat that was his son, the boy was already long gone, disappearing into the crowd without a trace to follow. Enraged at being deceived by a child, Wang Dikyu furiously roars out, "Stinking brat, just wait till I get my hands on you. I will slap that butt of yours until it flowers." Ellipsis. While all of this ruckus was occurring out on the streets, a certain restaurant was clamoring with gossip and cheers. However, this quickly came to a sudden halt the second a reddish woman patronized its doors. There was shock and there was pity, but more were leaning towards the latter. Bai Yan didn't care for the extra attention. Instead, she only followed Hualuo's direction up to the second floor where she found the room in which she's looking for. Even from the outside, she can already hear that familiar sound of her brother's voice. Gently placing her hands on the doorknob, she slowly pushes it open and saw the people inside. Bai Xiao was currently seated with his back facing the doorway while his friend Wei King sat across from him. The two teens were truly a sight for the eyes. One was cool and calm, the other sharp and handsome. No matter how one compared these two, they are like the contrasting moon and the sun. Though very different, they still gave off a very good vibe. Initially it was Bai Xiao's friend who first noticed Bai Yan's entry. Showing a glimpse of astonishment at the newcomer's gorgeous appearance, Wei King immediately elevated that surprise to shock at the baby boy's entrance following his mother's figure. "Sister, you are back." Bai Xiao immediately stood up and welcomed his sister. Still leading his son, Bai Yan gracefully greeted her brother. "Brother, did Her Grace the Dowager hand you the letter I left behind?" Stumping there for a second, Bai Xiao's appears to be struggling for a word. "I've read it, yes." The meaning behind that reply didn't just apply to their blood, it also applied to his mother's death relating to the Bai house. "Sister, no matter what happens, you will forever be my sister. That will never change." Showing a bitter smile, the teen nevertheless can't hide that pang of sadness on his face. "The truth is, I envy you. Now you can fully rid yourself of that family." "That's right. My sister is so amazing, so how can the Bai house be her home? It's more understandable that she's from another family, a better one." "Brother, since you know already, then let us go to the Bai house now. I want to pay them back for all the sins and grievances they instilled upon us and mother." Chapter 355, Revenge for You 1. Lowering his eyes to avoid his sister's gaze, Bai Xiao reveals a flicker of sharpness in his eyes. "Sister, give me some time." Furrowing her brow, Bai Yan was slightly taken aback by the teen's request. "What are you planning to do?" "I want to participate in the Holy Land's recruitment competition." His tone was firm there. Matched with that handsome face smeared by the lustering light from the outside, it was almost impossible for the female sex to deny him. "Give me a reason on why you must take the test then." As unwilling as she was to the idea, Bai Yan nevertheless gives her brother the benefit of the doubt and asked for the reason. "Because Nangong Yi is also participating. He and Bai Ruo did so many horrible things to you back then, that's why I want to defeat him in front of everyone." Nangong Yi. Caressing her chin, Bai Yan's narrowed-in gaze was exuding a dangerous light like she's plotting something evil. "From what I remember, Nangong Yi has been crippled by Dai Kang, hasn't he? How could he still compete? Tell me, brother, what has happened during the past few days while I was away?" "Sister, you don't have to worry about these things. Just believe in me, I won't embarrass myself in front of the public." He may say that, but those tightly clenched fists said otherwise of his confidence. Perhaps it's the persevering look of her brother there, or just the trust she held for him, but she nevertheless agreed. Showing a faint smile, "All right, no matter what you two intend to do, I will always support you. Therefore, I will give you a couple days until I make my move. By then it will be the end of the Bai house once and for all." "Thank you, sister." No longer cool and stern, Bai Xiao finally reveals a brilliant smile after getting his way. "Uncle, these are for you." Rummaging through his pocket, the baby boy suddenly pulls out all of the medicinal bottles in his possession for the lad. "That's all of my snacks, uncle. You must win, okay? Let all those baddies know mother's brother is also very powerful." Watching the plentiful amount of precious pills in his hands, Bai Xiao genuinely felt happy from within. I will not lose. If I lose now, then what qualifications do I have to stand behind her in the future? For that, I can never lose. Son, let us leave for now then. Casting a final glance at her brother, Bai Yan nevertheless departs from the room, knowing full well this was not the time to be distracting the boy. With the main flower leaving already, it's only expected that the two smaller buds to follow too. Though Chu Yi and Dai Xiao are constantly bickering whenever they are together, but that only applies when Bai Yan has her attention elsewhere. Right now they were quiet and calm like obedient children following their idol. Ellipsis. Bai Xiao, why are you so dead set on this recruitment competition? We don't even know what sort of medicine that person gave to Nangong Yi to make him recover. What if you can't beat him? Taking all of it in, Wei Qing can understand why his friend would want to do something to prove himself, but did it have to be in this fashion? No, I will win. Bai Xiao's expression became dreadfully cold. Those people only became so rampant because of Bai Ji's connection with that man from the Holy Land. If I can become a member of that power, then I can protect her again. Opening his mouth, Wei Qing wanted to say more to persuade his friend of how bad this might turn out. However, he didn't have the heart to say it in the end and could only sigh. Then why didn't you tell your sister that it's for her that you are participating? Facing the direction of where Bai Yan left, the lad's sharp gaze eventually softened up. With my understanding of her personality, she would definitely stop me from entering the competition if it was for her sake. Chapter 356, Revenge for You too. What's more, pausing to collect his thoughts, Bai Xiao reaffirms his stance. I haven't misplaced my words there either. Bai Ruo already paid the price that day in the palace, but Nangong Yi is still flaunting about thanks to the help of the Holy Land. I can't allow him such freedom, that's why I want to defeat him in public. I must shame him like he did to my sister. Hearing these murderous words from his friend, Wei Qing could only stop trying to persuade him. He knows nothing can change the boy's mind now. Bai Xiao, we are brothers. If there's anything you need, then say it. I will certainly be the first to help. Ellipsis. Meanwhile, back outside, Bai Yan was currently strolling through the crowded streets when her senses picked up a dangerous gaze shooting her way. Faintly frowning at first, her alarmed body quickly relaxes after realizing who it was. It was Bai Ji sitting atop of the second floor in a restaurant. Filled with hatred in her eyes, this bald girl with the word, bitch, deeply engraved on her forehead was every bit like her sister Bai Ruo, just rougher and more vicious. Sister-in-law, just wait for me here, I will go teach that girl a lesson so she doesn't show her face around us again. Displeased by the unpleasant-looking shooting their way, Dai Xiao immediately curled up her sleeves in preparation for a big fight. No need. Retracting her gaze, Bai Yan dismisses the killing intent and moves on. I said I will give my brother several more days to handle his matter. It's fine even if the Bai house lives for a bit longer. But, puckering her dainty little lips, the demon princess appears to be aggrieved by the fact that she can't clobber the enemy. Your brother will be coming back soon, Tilda. Sure enough, this sentence instantly shuts the naughty lass up and even made her get all teary. Sister-in-law, can you not mention my brother? Just the thought of him would make me scared. Is your brother really that scary? Raising a smirk, Bai Yan was rather intrigued by this strange behavior. Although Dai Kang tends to favor tactics into scaring others, but according to her own image the man have never taken the threats into practical action. For that reason, she's actually got a decent view of the guy. How can you say he's not scary? It's unsure what Dai Xuanhuan was remembering as a result of that question. However, that aggrieved face and timid appearance showed how close to crying she was. Even those legs were shivering hard. Did he hit you? Bai Yan asks with a brow raised. Well, no. He never hit me. Pursing those pink little lips, the demon princess deliberately puts on a pitiful face. I don't know why either. Whenever he comes around and stand before me, I would always fall into a stumbling fright just from his aura. Did you know, only you and little Xiakan are not afraid of my brother. She still remembers it clearly. Years ago, when those women in the demon realm were swarming to get near her brother, the man only needed to shoot one threatening stare to scare them all away like frightened rabbits. Such a brother, who wouldn't be scared? Revealing a touch of confusion by the explanation, Bai Yan didn't quite agree with the girl's view. Sure, Dai Kang definitely had a strong gloomy aura that can intimidate anyone, but to instill fear, that's sort of stretching it in her opinion. Sister-in-law, my brother treats you and Xiakan especially different. So, I'm certain he would never scare you. Originally, the demon princess wanted to use this opportunity to be a good assistant to her own brother and make a memorable impression. However, the end result didn't go as she planned and even came back to bite her in the back. Your brother keeps reminding me of how he wants to chop off my arms and legs. Now you say he doesn't try to scare me. Chapter 357, Revenge for You 3. Dai Xuanhuan was so shocked by the news that she didn't even realize how big her beautiful eyes were popping. Does brother want to pursue Bai Yan or not? If he's being so cruel, then how am I supposed to help his case? This is just too outrageous. Not missing how startled her friend there was, Chu Yi immediately chimes in with her enchanting ways. Oh Dai Xuanhuan, turns out your brother is such a ferocious man that he's totally different from my brother who is kind and gentle. Did I mention he would even pluck the stars from the starry sky for her? Unamused by the comparison, the demon princess quickly fires back with her own argument. If your brother is so capable, then why hasn't he won over sister-in-law's heart yet? I bet they never even shared a kiss yet, while I personally saw my brother doing it. Stunned by how quick-witted the Dumberklutz was here today, Chu Yi really had the urge to smash her own head in for taking the opponent so lightly. It's getting late. If you two want to continue arguing, then we're leaving first. Pricking her brow, Bai Yan didn't forget to leave behind her last remark to the demon princess. Oh yes, I will pass on what you said just now to your brother. Initially Dai Xuanhuan was still cheeky over her momentary victory, but that last comment instantly shattered her ego. Showing a grieving face, she attempts to use the remaining time to plead for mercy before it's too late. Ellipsis. Inside the private room of the restaurant, Bai Ji's expression was somewhat twisted after retracting her gaze from the street. Ji, not missing the extreme change in the girl's face, the man sitting across from her quickly wrinkles his forehead in response. Is something wrong? The question definitely had an effect on relieving the girl's mood. Returning her eyes over to the handsome young man, Bai Ji starts getting all teary like how her sister usually does. Brother Lu, I just saw Bai Yan, the woman I've told you about. It wasn't enough for her to frame my sister Bai Ruo, now she also wants to clear out my family in its entirety. Then, as if that wasn't enough, the girl deliberately lowers her head while biting that lip, making her look all the more weak and pitiful. Mother always said men like those who are more sensible. So, to get to Lu Zifeng's heart, I must learn to be like my sister and copy her ways. Only by snatching his heart will I be able to become a part of the Holy Land. But, raising her head, Bai Ji reveals a sad and pitiful smile. Brother Lu, you mustn't get involved with this matter. No matter how much my sister hates us and malign us, I just know that so long as I can justify our consciousness, then that's enough. Even if this means the world will continue to misunderstand us. What a good load of bullcrap there. Nevertheless, it had the perfect effect on rousing Lu Zifeng's anger. Gently caressing Bai Ji's face, he warmly pulls her in for an embrace. You mustn't say that to me, Ji. Don't worry, I've already had Nangongyi consume the forbidden pills I readied for him. During the next month or so, his cultivation will return to its peak prior to his injury. And as an insurance, I also enhanced his powers to a whole new level. Looking up in surprise, Bai Ji almost sounded hesitant there until she realizes what it meant for her future. This. Wouldn't that be bad? What if there's a side effect to the forbidden pills? There is nothing wrong with it. A man who can't even protect his beloved woman doesn't deserve to live to begin with. I, Lu Zifeng, would never allow the woman that I love to leave my arms. With that said, the man then tightens his grip around hers and causes the girl to shyly lower her head in embarrassment. Brother Lu, biting her lip as if the next part was difficult to say, I know you are doing this for me. However, Bai Xiao is still the only son of the Bai house. He's bound to be the heir to my father's name, so we can't overdo this with him. Can you have Nangongyi spare his life and only abolish his cultivation? Sighing at that kindness, Lu Zifeng wanted to thank the divine for giving him this wandering girl. Sadly for him, that's no kindness at all, just his misconception. Chapter 358, Revenge for You 4. Alright, we will do as you wish. According to the rumors out there, Bai Ji is supposed to be a brainless and cruel girl, but look at her now. Seriously, where did those rumors even come from? Brother Lu, thank you for believing in me. Getting red and blushy, Bai Ji never felt so happy before. I originally thought you would also believe I am one of those women after hearing all those rumors. I don't want to keep it from you. The truth is I nearly became Lord Kang's wife. It wasn't of my own volition back then, rather it was the Queen's will, so I couldn't say no. As bitter as he was over the fact that his woman nearly became another's, Lu Zifeng nevertheless showed his grace by comforting the girl on the shoulder with a pat. I understand, you don't need to explain yourself. A gentle and kind woman like you can never possibly favor a man like Dai Kang. Such a vicious and cruel man like that could never bring you love. Besides, he would have eventually caused you immeasurable pain considering his personality. For a person like that, Bai Yan would use such dirty rumors to malign Mai Ji. Really, such a woman is too evil. Good thing I came in time, otherwise who knows what other men would come along and believe those lies. If that occurs, wouldn't it hurt Mai Ji a second time? Lu Zifeng's ideology was that if he loves a woman then he must give her all the trust, even if this means disbelieving everyone else. Furthermore, he not only likes Bai Ji because of her baldness, rather it's her innocence and straightforwardness that truly draws him in. Despite the grand thoughts running through the man's head, Bai Ji on the other hand wasn't so kind. Just out of reach from those eyes, the girl revealed a sinister smile that gave no doubt about her true character. Bai Yan, so what if you got the demon beast sect behind your back? That power can never match up to the Holy Land. This time I will make you lose everything and more. Ellipsis. The matter of the Holy Land recruiting outsiders from within the Lu Huo kingdom have already spread far and wide to the point where talented individuals from other nations are also coming in by droves. As such, the test site had become overcrowded with people on the predetermined date. Bai Yan didn't have much interest in other people's competitions here today, many are only here to test their luck and nothing more anyways. Instead, her sole focus was entirely spent on tickling the baby white cat in her bosoms and the two followers that's completely captivated by the show. Is this standard of a competition really all that interesting? Her voice was cool and uninterested. I'm only interested in the sort of people coming to participate. After all, I still wouldn't want some bad seeds to mix into the Holy Land. Due to Chu Yi deliberately lowering her voice when replying, none in the audience other than the closest people next to her could hear this. Shrugging at that answer, Bai Yan had nothing more to add. It's reasonable and a good thing, so there's no reason to object. Sister-in-law, quickly look. Little Xiao is about to come out next. It was then Dai Xuanhuan exclaimed, sending the girl's attention over to the stage. Under the gaze of this enchanting woman, Bai Yan watches on as her brother slowly ascends up to the arena. Without deviation, the boy's opponent was none other than Nangongyi. Despite it only being a few days since that event in the palace, the man appeared very different here today. Sunken eyes with an aura of death hovering overhead, to say this prince was still the same proud individual from back then was impossible. So that's why, mumbling as if she's figured something out, no wonder Nangongyi can continue to use his powers after Dai Kang abolished his cultivation. It's because he used a rebirth Dan pill. Mother, what's a rebirth Dan pill? Blinking his curious eyes, Bai Shaochen looks up to his mother and asked. Smiling at the boy's wish to learn, Bai Yan happily obliged the request. This sort of Dan pill is considered a forbidden item. The effects can indeed restore the individual's powers and even regrow one's limbs, but that also means the side effects are extremely intense. Chapter 359, by Covs Nangongyi 1. She's had the privilege of seeing such pills in her previous life. However, due to their harmful nature, she soon destroyed them not long after obtaining them. Sister-in-law, what are the side effects of these rebirth Dan pills that you mentioned? Casting the woman a glance, Xuanhuan sounded very curious in her voice. Smiling at the question, Bai Yan happily obliged the girl's nosy nature. First leaning back to get into a more comfortable position, those who consume such a pill will lose their ability to be reborn after death, meaning their soul can never be reincarnated. Gasping hard at that knowledge, the demon princess never thought such an evil product could exist, nor did she foresee someone like Nangongyi to go to such an extent. However, such a reaction only applied to Xuanhuan while Chuyiyi was emotionless the entire way, solely focused in on the fight that's occurring. A coward like Nangongyi would never have the courage to consume such an evil product. I'm sure he only did it because someone deceived him. Raising a smirk, Bai Yan can only call this justice. If there's no greed, then there's no fault. Such a outcome can only be faulted on the man himself and no one else. Mother. Using his pitiful eyes, Bai Xiakan tugs at his mother's sleeve. Would uncle be in danger then? Towards her son's question, Bai Yan unconsciously froze for a second. Don't worry, I believe in him. Co is my brother, he can't possibly lose to someone like that. Ellipsis. Back on the stage, Nangongyi was currently eyeing his opponent in an eerie manner. By Co, I never would have fallen into this state if not for your sister's doing. I will kill you and then make her regret for the rest of her life. Unfazed by the threat, Bai Co confidently refutes the claim. I won't lose. For my sister, I can't lose. Ho ho. Chuckling with a sinister tone in his voice, Nangongyi appears amused by the boy's resistance. I'm afraid that won't do at all. With nothing more to say, the young lad was the first to make a move. Drawing his longsword, he charges forward like a bristling breeze, smooth and precise. Bang! Smashing out a palm strike of his own, Nangongyi then starts laughing maniacally as he swung himself to the side to make a lethal blow to his opponent. Die. Everyone who is related to Bai Yan must die today. Ellipsis. While all of this fighting was taking place, Bai Ji on the other hand was currently sitting atop of a high platform outside of the arena. What are you looking at, Ji? It's unsure when Lu Zifeng came around, but his arms had already curled around the girl's waist and pulled her into an embrace. Brother Lu, Bai Yan is also here to watch the fight today. Could you do me a favor and not show yourself in a bit? Due to how tense she was inside, Bai Ji's grip instinctive tightened around the man's arm. Why so? Lu Zifeng asks, bewildered by the strange request. Bai Yan emphasizes power and authority, and you are all of that. I fear she would. Even if Bai Ji didn't finish her sentence, that doesn't mean her man there wouldn't pick up on the girl's worry. Scoffing a laugh, Lu Zifeng dismisses the fear in his woman's heart. Ji, you mustn't let others sway yourself. I like you because of your innocence and gentle heart. Even if that Bai Yan is more beautiful, she can never match up to your good points. With that said, the man then followed Bai Ji's gaze and found the reddish figure in question. From his eyes only disgust could be seen. Chapter 360, by Covs Nangongyi 2. A woman's beauty is nothing more than a skin sack in the end. Besides, such a poisonous heart will only be a misfortune for any who marries her. It was then Lu Zifeng's brow had wrinkled into a knot because his eyes had inadvertently landed on the girl sitting next to his target. Naturally this would be Chuyiyi, the one and only princess of the Holy Land. Gee, do you know who that girl is sitting beside the woman? Why do I feel like I've seen her somewhere before? This question instantly causes the black-hearted Bai Ji to tense up. With vigilance in her eyes, she carefully forms a random answer. She is Bai Yan's maid. That's right. That girl is always circling around Bai Yan. If she's not a maid, then what else can she be? Did that bitch catch brother Lu's fancy? So it's just a maid. Exhaling a sigh of relief, Lu Zifeng didn't doubt his love's word at all. If it's just a maid, then there's nothing to care about. We can just ignore that group. Though he says that, but the man here just couldn't resist casting another glance over to the girl in question. Something was nagging at the back of his head that he's seen her somewhere. As a mere inner circle disciple, it's only normal that Lu Zifeng wouldn't have the pleasure of meeting the great princess of his sect. The most would be a passing glimpse of the girl from a far-away distance. After all, considering how vast and huge the Holy Land's territory was, only the core disciples, which resides in the core area of the sect, would have the opportunity to greet the girl under normal circumstances. Just like I thought, that Nangong Yi really is truly useless. By the time this man had shifted his attention back to the arena, the former crown prince was already losing ground and had signs of being overwhelmed. If not for Xi's sake, I would never waste a forbidden pill on such a useless garbage. As frosty and disdainful his eyes were, Lu Zifeng had no compulsion to interfere here. He's long planned for something like this, so it's entirely within his expectations. Bai Xiao must die today. Ellipsis. Meanwhile, back in the audience section, the masses were all shocked by the amazing display of power shown to them by the determined lad. For that reason alone, their eyes were full of contempt for the now defunct prince of their own kingdom. Didn't they all say the crown prince? Oh wait, it's the former crown prince of the Lu Hua kingdom now. Didn't they say he's the #1 genius of our kingdom? It's one thing that he couldn't defeat Lord Kang, but now he can't even beat a lad that's 6 years younger than himself. Che, this former genius really is disappointing. It's no wonder he would sire such a useless son like Nangong Lin. I say, the good genes must be coming from the Lan family's blood. Just look, first there's Bai Yan and now there's Bai Xiao. Then compare those two over to Bai Ruo and Bai Ji, they are like worlds apart. Because of fear for the Holy Land, these people could only whisper these words between themselves. Even so, the gossiping could not evade the prince that's currently fighting atop of the arena. This is you forcing me. I will never lose to the likes of you. Reddish in his eyes, Nangong Yi merely threw up blood due to the humiliation. Towards this sudden outburst, Bai Xiao can only make a frown because his opponent had suddenly pulled out a crystal-clear bottle containing a darkly liquid. Ha ha ha. Laughing maniacally after getting a huge boost from the medicine, Bai Yan, I know you are here somewhere watching this fight. I will give you another chance. Become my wife and I will let your brother live. End of the chapter. Adorable treasured fox divine Dr. Mother Overturning the Heavens, will be read in 10 chapters for every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.